I watched my brother when he came back from brushing his teeth. The way he was able to lie to our dad was troubling. "Are you staying the night in my room?" he asked. "No, we'll be back in the morning to make sure that you get to school safely," I told him. I reached out to touch him to ruffle his hair, but not being solid kind of sucks when you want to touch a loved one. Dad's been listening outside my door a lot. "I thought that if I started talking to you, you'd show up. They think I'm crazy, so he's been very protective since you've been gone," Junior explained. "I'm sorry, but I really was gone until now." "Okay, kiddo, time for bed. We'll see you bright and early, okay?" "Good night, Fiona. Night, Pua, Lippy, and Captain Lau," he said. "Good night," they chorused back. Welcome back to my channel. I truly appreciate your support. If you're new, please go back to view previous videos to catch up. Please subscribe, like, and share to help me grow this channel. Now let's continue with the story. The others returned to the cruiser while I went downstairs to where my parents were sitting on the couch talking. Dad had a few more gray hairs on his head now, and Mom just looked tired. I caught him talking to himself again. "I really think we ought to take him to see a therapist, just to ensure that he's okay. He misses Fiona," Dad said suddenly. "Honey, I don't think that's necessary. Some people process grief that way. They talk to their loved ones as if they were right there with them. My mother used to talk to my dad after he died. It's just a coping mechanism. He just needs time," said Mom. "Funny how Laura just bounced back. She hardly ever talks about Fiona. She won't admit that she misses her. She wears her clothes, and that's her way of keeping Fiona's memory alive." I snorted at that. "Laura was a selfish bitch. She doesn't miss me at all." I floated out of the house and up to the cruiser. Our quarters were small but comfortable. Lippy prepared a meal for us, and as we ate, we plotted the best way to capture John and Buck. We threw ideas around until it dawned on us that Laura was out with aliens and that she could be in danger as well. Granted that she wasn't Anthoran, but she was still my sister. Those Frogan hunters may be doing all kinds of things to her to give up her brother. "So do they possess any kind of mind control?" I asked Lau. "I don't know. Don't you think it's a possibility given that they mind link with each other? Couldn't it stand to reason that they could also control minds?" asked Pua. "Yeah, that makes perfect sense," I added. "It hasn't been our experience with them. However, if they can control minds, your sister is being used to get to your brother," expressed Lau. Suddenly, we picked up the sound of an engine directly under the cruiser. I looked down and spied my sister getting out of a car. I recognized the car. It was the one they drove me around in before they killed me. Laura was laughing as she stepped out of the car. "John, you are such a kidder." "I am not kidding, Laura. Tomorrow morning, I want you to drive your brother to school. We'll meet you there," Buck said. He got out of the car to stand in front of her. He placed his hands on either side of Laura's head. "You will drive your brother to school in the morning." "Yes, I'll drive my brother to school in the morning," my sister repeated. Buck dropped his hands and Laura stepped back and smiled up at him. "What time am I meeting you at the school?" "No need to make him suspicious. Bring him at the regular time and bring him to the teacher's parking lot behind the building." Laura nodded. "Oh, okay. Are we going out again afterwards?" "Probably not. I have stuff to do," John answered. "Okay, I'll say goodnight then," Laura said and headed to the front door. I watched her walk as if she was in a trance to the house. Buck and John watched her also. I held my breath and only let it out after she was safely inside. What a stroke of luck. We can follow them and end it right now. Your brother won't be exposed to whatever they have planned for him in the morning, Pua whispered. I turned to them and nodded. Captain Lau was already heading toward the helm. We were going to follow them. Ensign Lippy, enhance our listening capabilities. We need to hear what else they are planning, Captain Lau said. Lippy did as he asked, and we could hear everything, as if we were down there with them. I don't know why you let this drag on for so long. We could have done away with the brat ages ago, Buck complained. There's a rumor that Anthorans come back. Our intelligence tells us that they come back as spirits to gather their dead. I wanted to make sure that the bitch was truly gone. I kept watch over the body at the morgue. I trailed it to the funeral home, and I watched them embalm the body. When we killed her, we did a lot of damage, and when they took out her organs, they were cut to bits. That was her body. I watched for almost a week at the cemetery to see if anyone came to disturb the grave. She is dead, No one came for her, and even if they still wanted to, it's been over a year. Her decomposed remains is of no use to them now, John said. Fine, but we still have to kill the boy before our mission is over. I am done with this planet, Buck insisted. No problem there. Tomorrow, when the sister brings the kid to school, we snatch them both and finish the job. We're killing the girl too? Not before I have me some fun, John said, laughing. Buck joined him, and it was all I could do to keep from killing them right there on the street. That was gross to listen to, Pua said sadly as she reached over to turn down the volume on the console. So do we hit them now or wait until the morning? Lippy asked. They all looked at me. I took a couple of deep breaths before answering. I felt power gathering in my gut, but I damped it down. We have a job to do. We have to gather more intel on them and find out what it is. Already we know that they can control minds. That's more than we knew before. And they think I'm gone for good. I say we follow them and listen some more, I said. You're right. We follow to determine if there are more of them, and then we strike, Captain Lau said. It also occurred to me that we could also be going into a trap. Is there a way we can determine if there are any Frogan ships around? I asked. I had this nagging feeling that this couldn't be as simple as it seemed. Zortai! There are 4 Frogan cruisers in orbit now. They weren't there before, Lippy screeched. I could appreciate her cursing. I must remember to ask at a later date what it meant. Are we still cloaked? Captain Lau asked. We're still cloaked, sir, Pua assured him. I looked down to see John and Buck's car speeding. Turn up the volume, I said. We could hear static. John and Buck can't communicate without taking off their skins. They have to do it the old-fashioned way. They were communicating by way of comms. Yes, sir, it will be done. Is it possible that we could get off planet for a little while? No, sir, I am committed to doing my part, sir. Yes, sir, we will be ready to go to our next post as soon as it is done. The static cut off and Frogan, John, and Buck continued driving. Why the Chittak are there so many Anthorans on this freaking planet? Buck wailed. At least we get to go somewhere else. Who knows, after this mission, we could be the ones giving the orders, John said. We did what no other has done, dude. We got all the Brightblades. The kid is the last of them. No one can take that away from us. This is going on our record, and we might not even have to stay here for another mission. I bet we could put in for a promotion and get it, Buck insisted. Yeah, you're right, bro. We killed the bitch's legacy. OFTHA's life force can rest now. You remember training camp? Man, they played that recording over and over again, drumming it into our heads until I heard it in my sleep. Lena Brightblade's voice telling Imperial leader OFTHA that she was going to kill him just before she blew up the mothership. That voice gave me the creeps. They never did find out what kind of weapon she used. It was because of her that I became a fighter. I wanted to kill every Anthoran I came across. Being able to do it now is the best job in the world. Our families will be so proud of us. I think we deserve to have some fun before we get down to business tomorrow. You want to go back to the club we took Laura to last week? The females there were wild, and I could use a bit of fun, John suggested with a laugh. Buck made an impatient sound in his throat. I don't know how you can do that with these humans. Their bodies are disgusting. Buck said, they have a saying that says, don't knock it till you try it. Besides, that's how we found the Brightblade bitch. Her odor was all over that girlfriend of hers. Bill was so easy to manipulate. He invited the girl who brought Brightblade right to us. Even so, you remember the time you caught that illness from one of them? You were lucky a cruiser was around to get to. Otherwise, you'd be dead. I know better now. I've been inoculated, so nothing can hurt me now. Whatever, man, while you are getting your rocks off, I'm going to find me some weed. It ain't Anthoran Bazaar, but it'll do in a pinch. We followed our quarry to a club on Queens Boulevard. Leaving Pua and Lippy to keep monitoring Earth's orbit, Captain Lau and I followed them into the club. The music was loud and the people were dancing and drinking and having a good time. John and Buck had no trouble entering the club after doing a little mind controlling. They took seats at a booth and immediately 2 women joined them. I was brave enough to get close to listen to the conversation between them and the women. Hi, I'm Buck, and this is my friend John. I'm Caitlin, and she's Brittany. Want to have some fun? John asked them. What do you have in mind? Brittany asked. She was the blonde dumbass who was probably going to get herself killed, I thought. I was thinking that we could dance a little, drink a little, and see where that goes. You game? Asked John. Brittany got up and started jiggling. Yeah, sure, come on, this is my jam. John gave her a big smile and allowed her to lead him to the dance floor. That left Caitlin with Buck. What are you into? He asked her. I don't dance if that's what you're asking. I'm here for the weed. The bartender's got the good stuff. Buy me some, and I'll share it with you. Buck stood up and put out his hand. Together they made their way to the bar. Soon they were holed up in a dark corner smoking. I assume no money changed hands as Buck mind-controlled the bartender. I looked around to see if I could find John. He and Brittany were still on the dance floor. John and Buck didn't leave the club until the wee hours of the morning. I was tired and so was Captain Lau. When they headed back toward their house, I was relieved. It was the same house of that fateful party where I ended up dead. We waited until they had entered before we flew back to my house. We didn't get an opportunity to capture them as they were in a crowd. These days, because someone was always recording something. YouTube and Facebook would have had footages of them being dragged away by an invisible force in minutes. I wasn't worried that it would be believed, however, there were still 4 Frogan ships in orbit. I set my chronograph for 7, and that came early. I had never been a morning person, and no amount of military training was going to change that. Don't get me wrong, I can do discipline with the best of them, but only when I chose to. I left the crew to have breakfast while I went down to check on Junior. He was eating breakfast, and my sister was rushing him. I overheard her telling our parents that she would drive him to school. I signaled Junior to be cool, and he stopped protesting. Apparently, he didn't like the way she drove. That's very nice of you, Laura, Dad said with a smile. Mom smiled at her, too. Junior hurried up the stairs for his book bag. I followed him. Why do I have to go with Laura? He complained to me. I know you don't like the way she drives, but you don't have to worry. I'll make sure you get to school okay. Now hurry up before she gets nasty. I told him. I really felt for the little guy, but there wasn't anything I could do about that. I told him that I'd meet him at the school and went back to the ship. Captain Lau and the girls were waiting for me. We took off and kept pace with Laura's car. When she arrived, she parked and headed toward the teacher's parking lot, dragging Junior along with her. I disembarked and followed them. John and Buck were already waiting there. When they came face to face with them, Laura let go of Junior's arm. It was a particularly sunny morning, and I welcomed as much of the sun's rays as I could. I could feel my Leoac building up inside. Good morning, John. Hi, Buck, Laura said cheerfully. She wore a stupid smile on her face as if dragging her little brother toward those creeps was something big sisters did to their little brothers. Howdy, John and Buck chorused together. I hurried to face Junior and motioned him to be quiet. He gave me a quick nod and relaxed. Laura stood there with a vacant expression on her face. Laura, you can go now. I'll see you later, John told her. His voice echoed, and I realized that he was using his mind control power on her. Buck was holding Junior while he pulled out a switchblade knife. The smile on his face was devious. Buck had been speaking to Junior and he went slack and stopped struggling as the blade came closer to his throat. I let out a scream as I blasted Buck with a stream of white fury. 1 minute he was holding Junior against him, with the knife inches from his throat. The next he was on the ground with a fist-sized hole where his eyes used to be. I turned to hit John also, but Captain Lau stopped me. He was behind John and he quickly injected him with the syringe full of the paralyzing agent we'd prepared. John fell face first to the ground. We'll need one to take back with us. Good job, he said, pointing to John on the ground between us. Just then, my brother broke free of his trance and jumped back in a panic, his eyes wide with fear staring at the bodies on the ground. What happened? He asked. He looked so scared. I wished I could touch him to comfort him. He looked like he needed a hug. They were going to hurt you. They hypnotized Laura and you. You don't have to worry about them anymore, I told him. Lippy appeared suddenly with a camouflage blanket which she threw over the bodies. Pua helped her transfer the bodies onto a floating stretcher and floated up to the ship with them. Fiona, I don't feel so good. I want to go home, Junior said. He looked pale. It must be the after effects of the trance he was put in. He looked green after seeing Buck's body. You should escort your brother home, Captain Lau said. Come on, I'll walk with you. The school wasn't that far from the house and we left the school grounds. The walk seemed to be doing him some good, but I could tell he was in shock too. I had a decision to make. Somehow, I had to try to communicate with my family about Junior. We may have eliminated the immediate threat to him, but I wouldn't be around forever. They would have to be vigilant to keep him safe. As we walked, we talked about ways to convince our parents that I was there and what they needed to do. Laura's car was parked in front of the house when we arrived. She was sitting there still in a trance. I deduced that she'd been in a trance for so long that it might take longer to wear off. How she drove home in it was miraculous. Junior hurried to help her out of the car and into the house. It wasn't until they were standing in the foyer did she come to her senses. She stared around in confusion and then at Junior. "You're gonna be late for school." Almost 2 hours had passed and she was still stuck on the morning's events. She didn't seem to remember any of it. "Laura, we already went. Don't you remember taking me to school? You left me in the teacher's parking lot with your dorky boyfriend," he explained. "Why would I do that?" she asked stupidly. "Fiona saved me from them. They were going to hurt me. They told you to go and you left me," he accused her. "What's the matter with you? I don't have a boyfriend." Laura looked around with a determined expression. "Mom? Dad?" she called out. "They left for work already. Check the time." "Why don't you remember anything?" asked Junior. "I don't know what kind of sick joke you're playing here, but it's not funny. You've been weird ever since Fiona died. You need to get over it. She's gone, and she's not coming back," she told him cruelly. She checked her phone and frowned. "That's not true. She's right here." "Don't you see her?" Junior argued. At this point, I figured I'd have to do something before they got out of hand. I told Junior to stop and let me try to convince her that I was indeed there with them. Laura watched him cock his head to the side as he listened to me. "Fiona says that she's going to prove to you that she's here," he relayed. "Junior, you have to stop this. You're scaring me," Laura said softly. Junior cocked his head again, nodded, and took off to get me what I asked. He came back with a white sheet from the laundry room. "Laura, if this doesn't convince you, nothing will. I swear Fiona is here, and she's going to prove it." Here goes nothing, I thought. I had my brother put the sheet down on the floor, and I hoped I didn't miscalculate and burn the house down. With my layak, I burned the words, "Hi, Laura," on it. "How did you do that?" she asked. He was standing beside her, looking just as surprised as she was. "I didn't do anything. Fiona did that." Laura looked around wildly. "Fiona, is that really you?" I scorched the word yes on the sheet. I waited for her to freak out, but instead she just stood there looking at the sheet. Suddenly she started to cry. I didn't know how to comfort her. Our relationship had started to deteriorate by the time she turned 16. I didn't really know her. "Laura, Fiona wants you to call Mom and Dad. She has something to tell us." It took a few minutes, but she finally did. The conversation didn't seem to be going well. Our parents weren't pleased. It took a lot of Laura's skill to persuade them. By the time they showed up, Captain Lau, Pua, and Lipi had come to the house. I filled them in and asked for advice. Revealing that I was still alive and that I lived on another planet was big. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. "My advice to you is to tell them as little as possible. We may have gotten John and Buck out of the way, but remember that there are Frogans in orbit. If they can't reach their operatives, they may come down to investigate." "All right, I'll figure something out," I told him. I asked them to let me do it alone, and they left. Dad was the first one through the door, and he wasn't happy. "Laura, you had better have a good explanation calling me away from the office. I was in the middle of an important meeting." Mom came in wearing a worried expression. She rushed to Junior and felt his forehead for fever. "What's going on? I got a call from the school. They said that you came and then left," she said. "The principal said that you were with two suspicious-looking men in the teacher's parking lot. What were you doing with them?" Junior turned to me for guidance. I told him to ask everyone to sit down, that I would try to explain. My family sat down staring at Junior intently. He told them that I was here. "Is this what this is all about?" "Son, you've got to accept that Fiona's gone," Dad said sadly. "Dad, she really is here," Laura said. "Fiona, show them." I concentrated to write the word hello on the sheet. I was still amazed that the sheet didn't burn. Mom made a sound in her throat and Dad stood up quickly. "All right, you two, how are you doing this?" he asked, pointing to the sheet on the floor. "Dad, it's really Fiona." Junior tried to explain. "Fiona, is it really you?" Mom asked. I thought Dad was going to be the one to accept this, while she was going to be the one curled up on the couch drooling. On inspiration, I tried to concentrate on lifting the sheet off the floor. I was able to drape it over my head briefly. Now I looked like a Halloween ghost. "Oh my God, Gary, it is our daughter. She's really here," Mom cried. "How is it possible?" Dad asked no one in particular. "How are you, sweetheart?" asked Mom. "Tell them that I'm fine, Junior. I can't write anymore. It's very tiring. You speak for me, okay?" Junior nodded and relayed what I said. For the next half hour, I told them what happened to me and how Laura was being manipulated by Buck and John to get to Junior. My parents finally believed after Laura swore she didn't have a boyfriend. Both my parents met John and Buck, while she had no recollection of them. Dad excused himself to go upstairs. He came back with a strong box. He kept it on the top shelf of his closet and always told us as kids to never touch it. He was holding it in his hands reverently. My father kept this box in his closet and he gave it to me when I turned 21. He said that his father gave it to him on his 21st birthday too. He said that this box had been in his family for generations. He showed us what was inside and told us the story behind it. He said a long time ago, our ancestor Lena Brightblade was a warrior from another planet called ANTHORA. There was a war that destroyed her world. She and a group of survivors escaped and came to Earth. She and that group hoped that someday their people would come for them. He pulled a key from his keychain and unlocked the box. Inside was a picture of Lena Brightblade, several pages of a letter written in a strange language that I immediately recognized. There were pictures of her husband and children. She wrote instructions to pass the knowledge down to every child, but especially to every male child. For some reason, it was rare in the Brightblade bloodline to produce males. At the bottom of the box was her armband. I kept this box out of respect more than anything. I didn't believe any of it. I promised him that I would pass it on to Junior when he turned 21. "I can't believe this is really happening," Dad said. "Dad, Fiona says that she is glad you kept the box. She says that she had spent months learning about Lena. On ANTHORA too, she's a hero, and her descendants are revered. She says that she is treated as if she were Lena. They say, she looks like Lena," Junior said. Mom kept looking around as if she can pinpoint where I was. "Fiona, did you come back to protect your brother?" Junior told them that I nodded. "So what now? Is the threat gone?" asked Dad. "She says she didn't know for sure," Junior said. "Will you come back to check on him from time to time?" asked Dad. Junior told them that I came to eliminate the immediate threat, that I wasn't sure if more would come, and that I would try my best to come back often. "Are you leaving soon?" asked Laura. "Very soon," Junior conveyed. "Why do you have to go? Why can't you stay here to protect us?" she wailed. "Laura doesn't understand that only Junior is Anthoran, honey. There's no threat to the rest of us, right?" Junior told them I nodded. "What does the letter say?" Mom asked suddenly. I asked Junior to spread the sheets for me to read them. It was pages long. I read some of what it said to the family. "Lena hopes that we are well, that we get a chance to see how beautiful Anthora is. She wishes that she could have seen her homeworld again, but she knew that it was destroyed by the Frogans. She tells of the narrow escape she and the rest of the people on board her ship experienced. She wrote how a Frogan ship jumped to Earth behind them and how she used her layak to destroy the ship, and they were able to land safely. She tells of how hard it was at first to coexist with the Earthlings, that they were afraid of her and the others. Lena had learned to limit her use of layak. She learned their ways and she had married a special man. Most of the people who came with her had found mates and settled down. Of the 80 on the ship, she was the only one with the ability to wield layak. For a while, she was their leader until they were fully accepted. They founded a settlement and were lucky the mountain people agreed to keep their existence secret. She found out years later that there were cave drawings about them, but she left them untouched because they were beautiful. Lena went to say that she didn't know when her people would come for them, but that they would. She wants all of her descendants to be ready and to never forget Anthora. She warned of future threats by the Frogans and asked that we be watchful. The box also contained the manifest of the people on the ship. She hopes that they will continue to remember and to tell their children of home. The letter ended with her name and the year 1866. At the very bottom of the box was the coordinates for where the ship could be found and the deed to the family estate. I had tears in my eyes and I asked Junior to fold it back up. The pages were fragile and I was afraid that they might rip. I asked my dad if I could keep the letter and he agreed. I told him that it would be held in the Hall of Records on ANTHORA too. Leaving was bittersweet and I promised that I would come back as soon as I could. I also asked that they keep the secret for a while longer. Laura promised she never tell a soul. I believed her. My parents agreed too. Captain Lau came to check if I was ready to go, and I told him that I was. It was hard to leave, but I had to. We had caught a Frogan, and we needed to bring him back. Well, that's it for now. Please help me grow this channel. Please like, share, and subscribe.